We have a really nice program. As usual, Farshid will lead us in the prayers, and Bob is going to do the Gujarati. Bob will sing the Gujarati, and we can join in. And then after that, Cathy is going to read a little quote from Mayor Baba. And then we have a class act comedian. Everybody enjoyed him so much, we've asked him to come back. And he's just working for some carrot cake. And then after that, we have the Chiro Cats. I don't know if some of you have heard them before, but they're really good. And Cathy rocks. And Catherine too, one-handed. And then Cathy is going to talk about her times with Kitty and Elizabeth. And then after that, we'll have a few more tunes from the Chiro Cats, and then you'll all rise, and if Farshid would come forward.
O God, preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere, and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds, and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all-knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Elahi, Yesam, Amuramaster, and God the Beloved. You are named Isa, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will and wish. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast Baba's Dhamma till the very end. Avatar Mir Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Mir Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Mir Baba Ki Jai.
Before we begin the program, of course Cathy's going to read and then Jason's going to tell a few jokes. But I just wanted to say one of our residents is leaving to go back to India for the rest of his life. That's Bobby Street. So look him in the face because that's the last time you'll see him. He
Unless you
leaves
go to
next week.
India.
I'm not going to tell the date. We don't want him to get inundated with people. But Jay Baba, and thank you.
Hello. Ooh, I'm short. I don't want to.
You're good.
Ready? Do not think about your ego. Do not think about your weaknesses. Entrust everything to me. Become dedicated to me and love me. If you love me, what is going to happen? You won't have to kick out the rest of the things in your consciousness. They will fall like the dead leaves of a tree. If the leaves turn dry and yellow, you don't have to shake the tree. They will fall of their own. Avatar Mayor Baba.
Well, all I can say is I'm trying to shake them leaves. Jason, make us happy.
I'll try.
Make us laugh.
You want the microphone?
Sure. Yeah. So these are last-minute jokes. So if you like them, I wrote them. If you don't like them, Peter Goodman wrote them. All right. So does anybody here like Greek mythology? Yeah. Oh, have you guys ever heard of the blind Cyclops brothers? Neither have I. That was a good one. That was okay. All right. Why are mountains so funny? They're hilarious. I think we can all agree the shovel was a groundbreaking invention, right? All right, last one. Have mercy on. Where do fish keep their money? The riverbank.
And now, we don't know if these people are ever going to be famous, but they're famous here at the Serenity meeting. And these are the Chiro Cats. We've had them here before, and we welcome them anytime.
So the band ain't what it used to be. We got a wounded musician, as you probably all know by now. Catherine broke her wrist on May 8th, the day we got married. She went for a walk afterwards, and we spent our wedding night in the ER.
So romantic.
Now that's wrong.
But being the consummate musician, she has learned her flute playing on the keyboard and has learned how to play it left-handed. So we now call her Lefty Zumstein. Sounds like a pitcher for the New York Yankees. Well, the song, a little background. Use your imagination. We are sometime in the distant future. Baba has spoken the word. He has manifested himself. And everything that he told us about his final declaration has come true. Oh, part of the song was inspired by Adi K. Irani. Adi was a rascal. He liked to mess with people's heads at times. I've been told, it didn't happen to me, but I've been told that he would come up to pilgrims or volunteers and say, maybe Bobby, you can verify this. Who are you? Yeah. What are you? Why are you? So when you hear that in the song, join in. Okay. I saw my brother, he was walking along the road alone. I saw my brother, he was carrying his load alone. cross-eyed, hand in hand, stretched across the golden land where lovers of God do fly, who know. Who are you? What are you? Why are you? Where you going? Who am I? What am I? Why am I? Where am I going? Who are we? What are we? Why are we? Where are we going? Before we play this next song, I want to read a little something out of Baba's book called The Secret of Sleep.
Okay.
And Baba says, when you awake from your asleep dreaming into your awake dream, you know that the asleep dreaming was only a dream. When you wake from your awake dreaming, you will know that you were the sole creator of both the dreams and the people, the objects and situations contained in them, that they existed only in you and were for no one but you, and were nothing but dream experiences of your own dreaming, and that you alone have real existence. When real light appears, this darkness, which you think is light, disappears. My guitar coming through? Too much.
When I want you in my arms, when I want you, and all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream, 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 dream when I feel blue in the night and I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream.
So give us a minute
It's
till
a
we
night
clear
of
the
Cathy's.
stage. Before Cathy begins, I'd like to say that every time I hear this new group play, they touch my heart. And that's all I can say about it. When the heart is touched, there's nothing to say, except the heart's touched.
There we go.
Thank you. So wonderful to be here, and thank you, David and Thanks for inviting me to share my stories of working at Dilruba for 12 years. And it kind of came over me as I looked out at all these people, and I felt kind of overwhelmed with the folks I know in this group, how much over the years, I have seen them serving others and helping others in the community and being servants of Baba. I just wanted to say thank you for all you all are doing. I feel like I got that training from Elizabeth, Kitty, Margaret, just in service of others. But I know all of you are servants of our
Take one of these
beloved.
now. Yes.
I wanted to just let you know that when I first came to Baba in 1972 and came to the center, I met Kitty and Elizabeth, and I had this intense desire to spend time with Kitty. It was, how Baba does that. You have some inner desire, and Baba makes your dreams come true. So in 1979, after living in Myrtle Beach for a year and a half, moving away, coming back, a friend in the community, actually Jeff Wolverton, said, he knew that one of the women who was helping at Dilruba was leaving. Carrie Bills was moving back to Texas, and that they would need some help. And he said, if you go to Elizabeth and Kitty and you say you would be willing to volunteer and they like your work, they may hire you. So I took my courage together and I knocked, and Elizabeth listened to my request, and to my great joy invited me to come work, to start volunteering. And after a few months, I was called into her office and offered a monetary amount that was, I wasn't working there for the money, is all I can say. I had a few other jobs to survive, and actually during that couple of months that I was volunteering, I had to go on food stamps because I just didn't have any other. I had just moved back to Myrtle Beach, and I was like doing everything in my power to just be able to be there and serve so that I might be hired, which is what happened. And so in July of '79, I started working there part-time. As I think about it now, Kitty and Elizabeth were in their 80s. I was in my 30s. I mean, now that we're older, when you think about all this incredible energy that they had in their 80s, and Elizabeth lived a year and a half longer. She died at the end of 80. I got there middle of 79. Elizabeth, did depart sooner, and I had less time with Elizabeth. Kitty, as you all know, lived to be 100 and a half. So I was there 12 years under Kitty's tutelage. Margaret would come and go from New York, so she was there 11 years, on and off. And luckily I kept diaries and was able to, as many of you know, was able to put the best together into a book about working there. I think there's so much to say, and I just thought to simplify it, I decided to go to the back of the book where I decided to put a chapter called Reflections. And what happened was, about 10 months after Kitty passed, I had a very powerful vision dream in which a number of us were following Kitty through a European landscape. She was walking very rapidly, walked past a big sort of like an Arc de Triomphe, Brandenburg Gate sort of a edifice, walking rapidly. I remember myself and Lois Brager, who helped also and helped Kitty write her book and helped me edit my book. We were right in back of Kitty, and she turned around, stopped, and suddenly looked very intensely at Lois and myself and a few others, and she said, "What have you been doing to utilize the training I gave you?" Wow. And she wasn't angry. She was just intense. So I woke up early in the morning from this very intense visit. I called Lois, and she said, "Oh, OMG," she said, "what have we done to utilize the training?" So I decided, after compiling and editing down the best of these diary entries for this book, that I would have a chapter, I would add a chapter on what I felt was the training. So I've gone through it, and I wanted to share it with you and tell you what were some of the ideas. Oh yes, first of all, before sharing what I felt their training was, the intensity of working at Dilruba was just unbelievable. I mean, I remember Lois told me one day, Kitty had said to her, "You have to have 100% dedication to working at the center, or you wouldn't be able to stand it." And that was true.
And still is.
The phone was ringing off the hook, long line of people, lunch had to be cooked, and often more people were invited, lunch for 4, and there were 10 that showed up, and, the house had to be vacuumed, and anyway, on and on. The night before, some crazy person had called up and wanted to talk to Kitty, so those of us who stayed in the house after Elizabeth passed would answer the phone to try to deflect, callers who were trying to get to Kitty at 2 a.m. in the morning. So just to add that after Elizabeth passed, Jane Haynes asked Lois and myself to take turns staying at the house, a week on, a week off. So for years there was this incredible intimate connection, more intimate connection. So going through my reflections of what the training was, the first, I would say, dangers of occult involvement. Super short little snippet to tell you that my friend Annie Weld-Bell and I came to Baba through an occult event that happened with lights going off, lights going on, and it's a long story. But so when we came to the center, I was sitting with my friend Annie in the original kitchen. This is January '72, and still very involved in all the hooey-wooey, I guess I could call it now. And I was writing words, they call it automatic writing now, all these, I was thinking I was ascending to higher planes of consciousness, as sentences were flowing from my pen, and all at once the phone rang in the original kitchen, and those of you who have been around for a while, the 6213 number, people used to use that phone. And I answered the phone, and it was Kitty looking for somebody, and when I couldn't find the person, she says, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I decided to tell her I was ascending to higher planes by writing Baba's messages, which were streaming through me. And she says, oh, no, that's not Baba's way. No, that's lower animal magnetism. Take a walk on the beach, take a cold shower. No, lower animal magnetism, that's not Baba's way. So that was, the beginning of sort of letting go of all those ego-enhancing traps. One day, Kitty said to me, I thought this was very interesting, and somewhat along the lines of this. She said, one of the biggest challenges I face is what people, when they share with me what is really going on, because often they'll say, it was Baba's will that this and such happened. And, she says sometimes it is Baba's will, but sometimes it's the own person's neurotic, it's something that sometimes, can get in the way. And sometimes for me, I know that was in the beginning, there was a lot of messages I was kind of getting from someplace that, Kitty was dissuading. Focus and attention to detail. I just tend to be sort of rushing here and there. And so both Elizabeth and Kitty would just jump on me for not finishing one task, just finish what the task at hand before you get to the next, on to the next task. The attention to detail is a very touching story to me, that the most touching remembrance. After Elizabeth couldn't drive anymore, she would often ask me to go into the center, to drive her into the center, and she would go check in the cove to make sure that the teapot didn't have a crack, because the Darwin and Jean Shaw were coming, and Jean loved her cup of tea. One day we went to the lookout. She had me go get another pillow because Hilda Dale was writing a book. And how did Elizabeth know? She knew that Hilda liked to write this book and was working on the manuscript propped up in bed. And so having another pillow would help her, be able to be comfortable as she worked on her manuscript. We went to the cove another time. There used to be a little cupola and a weather vane on top of the cove. As I walked up the steps, maybe it was to check the teapot for Jean Shaw, I said, "Oh, Elizabeth, there's a weather vane on top of the cove." And she said, "Yes, dear, we have to pay attention to every detail." And what I realized was, in service of others, we have to pay attention to every detail. And she was a master at just being aware of every little tiny thing that would be of help or that would be necessary to get done. Do your best, then let Baba do the rest. When I look back on it, I felt like it was constant reprimands. I mean, it maybe sounds silly, but it was just very difficult working there, because it was like Lois never felt like we could do anything right. It was just really, we were in the fire of it all. And so being called down quite often, Johnny Doe, you just had to let it go and go on. You couldn't, just hold on to, I'm doing something wrong again, You'd want to kind of crawl into a hole, but you had to just keep going and take Baba's name and do your best. Kitty, Elizabeth, and Margaret all had fabulous senses of humor, and that humor helped to deflect the intensity of what was going on in Dilruba. I'm just, for some reason, remembering one day I had to go deliver something to Margaret, who stayed in the back room, which is now an office, around past Kitty's bedroom facing the lake. And I knocked on the door and I called out, "Are you decent?" And she opened the door and she says, "Of course I'm decent." There was a turtle who lived in the house, Jimmy, and one of my first jobs was to, I think Wendy has mentioned Jimmy, take him and in his little Pyrex dish, take the dirty water out, get just the right amount of tepid water that was not too hot, not too cold, for Jimmy, put his little rock back in the Pyrex dish, and Jimmy on top of the rock, and then he would be placed next to the, what do you call the refrigerator has like a vent where the hot air comes out at the bottom, so his little cold reptilian body could be warmed up, So Jimmy, he was the first, order of the day when you would come to work. And Elizabeth had decided that Jimmy loved ice cream. And so one of the afternoon duties now and then in the summer was to take Jimmy out of his dish, put him on that enamel table, and get the ice cream out of the freezer, and get a scoop of the vanilla ice cream, aim it toward Jimmy's cute little beak, and he would shove in the ice cream. Ice cream, just imagine, big beak with ice cream all over it. And one day, Margaret came in and I was feeding Jimmy his ice cream. And she says, "Oh yes, you're being so spiritual. I can imagine writing to your parents." And I said, yes, mother and father, I'm having a very spiritual experience feeding the turtle ice cream. So Margaret got a tickle out of that. Oh God, it's so wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, anticipate needs. Yeah, Elizabeth, Kitty, Margaret, they were always, I could tell, thinking ahead, what needed to be done, what to do to serve this one or to help that, or this one is ill, or that one, you know, at a distance is having a crisis. So anticipating needs and thinking ahead in service of others was, and you know, of course they did that with Baba all the time. So that was a tremendous training, and I'm sure we're all doing that ourselves as we go along in life. Trust your intuition and your own ability. They would give me assignments like write a letter to so-and-so, and then they would check it and they would give constructive criticism. Different things I was asked to do. And, you know, at first, you know, I thought to myself, I don't know how to write a letter to so-and-so in Minnesota, you know, and then you just write the letter, and then, you know, so that it's like trusting that you have the wherewithal to get what they want done. And I think that was an important, you know, just becoming more aware that one's own, the Baba within will help you get done what needs to be done. And then their criticism, their constructive criticism was always very incredible, loving, strong, and informative. Punctuality. I tended to have a bad habit of not being on time. And over the years, I got better at it, but poor Kitty and Elizabeth, you know, I would usually get reprimanded, sometimes not. And to this day, you know, I try now to be more punctual. And of course, as we know, Baba liked people to be early, you know, if not on time, you know. So that was just knowing how busy they were. That's one of the regrets I have, you know, that sort of bad habit of mine impacted them in a way that was difficult for them. So punctuality is important. Take your stand on the truth within. A few times there would be a crisis in the community. Kitty would ask me very specifically what I thought about the situation. And I had very strong opinions about certain things that happened, and things that I felt were not just or unkind, or different, you know, situations that I certainly won't go into. But I really felt Kitty would ask specifically now and then about these situations because she wanted to hear a truthful what I thought. And a few times I would sort of sugarcoat it, and I wouldn't give her what I think she really wanted to hear. And I think, you know, to sometimes be able to say something, of course it's difficult. How do you do that? To be, well, with Kitty it was so different because she was so loving, and yeah, but to say something in which you're trying to think of a way to empower the person despite the weaknesses. And that leads me to let's see, where was that? I wanted to say, yeah, resisting backbiting. Yeah, I mean, Kitty was so, and Elizabeth, and they were so always trying to see the best in others, and the weaknesses would be not emphasized. So looking for, like, even if a person had a problem in the community, to think about what were the better, go to the higher realms in thought, word, and deed. There was a woman that came once the mother of one of the community members, and I heard her in the book room talking to Kitty, and she was going on and on and on. And to me, it was kind of fluffy conversation, and I just kept waiting for Kitty to sort of try to lead the conversation in some way that would be more spiritual, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just trying to get to some deeper place with this woman. But it never occurred, and afterwards I said, because it was going on, and it was like an hour, and this woman was just, anyway. So when she left, I said, Kitty, how did you stand it? You know, I couldn't. It just, you know, the fluffy fluff kept going on and on. And she said, oh, I was just waiting to see if there would be, so I don't think she used the word opening, but if there would be something that might come up that would be of interest to get into. She wouldn't say get into, you know. Anyway, she was very British and she was very proper. So she said something very nice about wanting them to go deeper, but she wouldn't force anything upon them. And that touched me very deeply. She was just sitting there for an hour when she was so busy just waiting for the woman to maybe open up into something more, I don't know, the word more spiritual sounds funny, but yeah, I think you understand what I'm saying. She would always talk about giving your all. And one morning, Kitty's in her later 80s, she told me she wasn't feeling well when we got up in the morning, and she had been invited out for dinner. And I said, Kitty, please don't go. Stay home, rest. I came home late that evening. She came home even later, and she was just all bubbly. Oh, I had such a wonderful time. And I said, Kitty, you weren't even feeling well this morning, and then you went to dinner, and you're coming in later than I, you know, it's like 10:30 or something. She says, oh, yes, well, I remember a day on the bus and Blue Bus tours, and we were going to the Lahore Zoo, and I wasn't feeling well. And Baba said, I said, Baba, could I rest in the bus? And he looked very disappointed, so I just decided I'd better go. And now I always remember that Baba feels very happy if you will try to give your best. And so going the extra mile is something I felt Kitty taught me. You know, she was not feeling well. She went out and she comes back feeling bubbly and happy, and because she's made others happy. Memory training. She would often say, and Elizabeth too, remind me tomorrow about calling so-and-so, or remind me next week, or even sometimes next month we have to do this and such, and please remind me. I, in the beginning, would often forget, and she would remind me, didn't I tell you to remind me? You know, here I'm 35 and she's 88, right? You know. And, you know, in a way, I feel like our technology, in some ways, robs us of a lot of those memory. Like, I used to remember everybody's phone number, you know, and now you just go click and there it is, you know. I think that memory training to try to remember ahead was very helpful for my brain, and I'm sure for theirs too. In about a year before Kitty passed, I was rushing around helping her, taking care of Tom, doing this and that, and one day she says, you mustn't give so much of yourself away. You have to find some quiet time for yourself. And Darwin had once said, spend more, to me particularly, spend more time in silence. And I just tend to be a sort of a outward going person, but I think Kitty's exhortation and Darwin's is something maybe I'll listen to someday. I said something self-deprecatory to Kitty once at a lunch, and all at once she got really angry. I said, oh, I can't do that. She got so upset, she said, there you go again. And she didn't say putting yourself down, because that's too Western. What would she say? What would the British way of saying it be? There you go again, saying something negative about yourself. That's not That's not good. You could do anything. And at the time, it was very painful, and for some reason, I felt like I wanted to open up the earth and jump in. I felt like something was exposed on some deep level of lack of self-confidence. And as the months went by and I started thinking about it, I felt to myself, that is so true. It's true of all of us. We can do anything. You know, with Baba's help, we can do anything. If you feel Baba is drawing you to do something, you can move toward that. It's been this tremendous gift, even though at the time it felt like it was like exposing a weakness. Make your life's work something you love. My dad had been an artist, my mom was a musician, and I was going back and forth, and it became clear that music was my main love, and that Kitty was so sweet about helping me with all of my musical lessons, my teaching. She would ask me how it went, give me suggestions, because she had been a music teacher. She even took me to the piano of a friend in the community who had a grand piano, and I had been studying some piano, and she gave me a piano lesson. She drew, you know, I watched the way she drew the G clef, and she wrote a melody for me for a dance I had been teaching one of my classes. She had tremendous influence upon my life as a musician and as a teacher. And she loved it too because, you know, I think she missed it. She had been teaching music for many years until Baba came into her life. The greatest of these is love. Of course, love was what ruled their lives. And what a gift it was to spend time with them. Oh yes, of course, there were all the Kittyisms, hysterically funny. One of my favorites was, I called Kitty on the phone. She had this very interesting habit of not quite knowing what to do with phones, because there hadn't been phones in her home when she was growing up in Edwardian Victorian England, you know, and at least not the kind of phones we had back then. Even they're different now than they were then. So she was known to start a conversation with you, and then she, you know, would either like hang up the phone in the middle of the conversation, or at this moment, what happened was I called in to ask something of Kitty, and she said, oh, just a minute. And I heard her put the phone down, clunk, and then I heard feet go out of the room, and I realized she was going to another part of the house. And then when she came back, I just decided I'd stay on the phone and see what would happen. So there must have been somebody in the book room in her office. So when she came back, she started a conversation with this person, which I, of course, overheard the whole thing. She says, oh yes, tell me again. Your name is, what is your name?
Jim Smith.
And you've taken a Persian name? Oh yes, you've taken the name Sherdil. And what do you do? Oh, you drive a bus in Birmingham. Oh, how interesting, you're taking a Persian name. And then all at once I heard her hoot, 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 hoot. And then she picks up the phone and she says, hello, are you there? I said, Kitty, yes, I thought I'd just wait and see if you would remember I was on the phone. She says, oh, there's an interesting fellow here. He's from Birmingham, Alabama, and he drives a bus, and he's changed his name to Sherdil, and well, he's much more interesting than you are. Oh God, there's so many other Kittyisms that are just, oh my God. Once Ella Winterfeld had fallen and rushed to the Grand Strand Hospital. There was a fellow at that time who lived in the community. He was a nurse, and his name was Peck Kenny. So a call came in from this fellow that Ella had not broken a hip or a leg, and she was going to be okay, just a little bruised up. Kitty came back into the dining area where I was serving her lunch, and she says, "Oh, I'm so happy. Gregory Peck just called, and Ella will be okay." Another name mix-up. Barbara and Malcolm had been married, and they had 3 kids, and Isaac was born, and the youngest of their 3. And so Kitty, I was serving lunch out on the screen porch overlooking the lake, and Kitty comes out to the back porch, and she says, "Oh, it's so exciting. Barbara and Malcolm have had a baby boy, and they've called him Isaac Stern Clay." And of course, Isaac Stern is a famous, violinist, and his name was Isaac Starr, it turns out. But then I think either Elizabeth or Margaret said, "Kitty, it must not be Isaac Stern." Anyway, she was one of another favorite Kittyism, which is actually not mine, but I just remember that at one point, Sheila Krinsky painted a portrait of Kitty, and it was very masculine and very abstract. And Kitty accepted it lovingly. I thought to myself, but I didn't, it just didn't look like Kitty. She says, "Oh yes, I think I've always had more animus than anima. I'm more masculine, and it shows that, yes. And so she hung the painting on the wall, going down the hall there when you go into the room toward the right. And then Sheila said about a month or 2 later, she comes back into the house, and she didn't see her painting, and she said, "Kitty, where's my painting?" And Kitty said, oh, yes. And Kitty led her to her bedroom, opened the bedroom closet door where the painting was hanging away from any eyes. And she said, "Oh, yes, I put it here because I didn't want Elizabeth to get sick." One of my favorite memories, see, Kitty would carry Jimmy around. She was just loving, and she loved people, and she loved everybody, so she loved Jimmy too. So she would go for lunch. After lunch, she would go for a nap. She would turn on the Beethoven so loud that the phone calls that came in couldn't be heard. She was trying to rest. Okay, she'd turn on the loud classical music, and she had put Jimmy on the bed. She had brought her Time magazine, which she liked to read, and when I came in to tell her it was time to get up, there was Time magazine sort of, over Jimmy, and he was kind of looking out around the side of the Time magazine, and I said, Kitty, it's time to get up. And then she took the magazine off of Jimmy, and she says, "Oh yes, Jimmy loves music." I don't think she said classical music, but that was her music. So she says, "Yes, Jimmy loves music." I said, "How do you know?" She says, "I can just tell. Yes, there are 2 of us in the house that love music, maybe she said classical music, me and Jimmy." She says, "I don't think Elizabeth likes that kind of music." "No, Jimmy and me, we love that music." Jimmy's like looking.
How big was Jimmy?
What?
How big a turtle was
Oh,
Jimmy?
he was like a box turtle.
He was.
Yeah. And when he died, Elizabeth asked, I don't know who did the job, but to plant him near the bird bath outside in the yard facing the lake, because she said she wanted him to come back as a beautiful red cardinal next time. So that was Elizabeth's desire. There's so many more things to say, but I just wanted to thank you for inviting me to share some stories.
others help.
Let others help. Oh, thank you. That's very important. Thank you, Parish Day. Yeah, let others help. That was really, those of us who had been there for a while that were staying off, overnight and then working a lot during the day. And then different ones had to go away or went to India or, family member was passing away or something. And so others would come in, would be asked to help. And often if you were it's had to slip out and the other person would come in, sometimes it was hard to sort of slide back into that role. So there was a lot of sort of jockeying for people to kind of, be staying there or to get back into the line of, being asked to help. So you had to, just let go of the ego of wanting to sort of be there all the time, do it yourself, and others had letting others have the opportunity to help. It was very important. Yeah, that was, yeah.
Is the place where Timmy died, is there a marker there? Or?
I don't think so, but that's
I'm sorry, I meant Timmy.
Jimmy the turtle?
Jimmy the turtle.
Yeah, I don't think, but that's a good idea. I think Will David is the one that has to make the marker.
Yes.
Because?
Well, he's just such a people and animal person. I mean, he's just good with nature.
Oh.
But that's, yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to share a couple of my memories because I was able to come in and stay and help for a time on different occasions. And one of my really fond memories is sitting in the afternoon and watching with Kitty, Mr. Rogers. It was so precious.
Oh,
Just
yes.
And another one that was very sweet was when toward the end of her life, she was having double vision. And we were sitting out on the porch and just looking out toward the lake, and there was a little bird bath out there. And she said, "Oh, is that one cat or two out there playing?" I said, "Oh, it's one, Kitty." And she said, "Oh, they looked so cute playing together." I was hoping it was two. Yeah. And then one other, some of you may have heard this, but when Jane had gone to the eye doctor, had an ophthalmologist appointment, and came back, and Kitty called Wendy to let her know that she said, "Oh, Jane just got back from the optimist, and he said everything's going to be just fine."
Yes, that once I called and she found out that Tom had to go to the eye doctor for something, and the twist that she used that time, she says, "Oh yes, tell Tom he'd better go to the gynecologist."
Yes.
And everybody knows the very, very, the famous one, everybody knows that, the way I've heard it, I think it's got so many machinations now that somebody may need to correct this, but Lord Hopkinson, Tom Hopkinson had been knighted for his journalism work, and his wife, therefore, was Lady Hopkinson. They were British. Kitty was thrilled. They were in the office. She was complaining about her eye problem. She left, and a few hours later, I heard that Charles Haynes came to the door, and she came very worried, and she said, "Oh, Charles, I'm so worried about Lady Hopkinson." And Charles said, "What's the problem?" "Oh, she's got gonorrhea." It was glaucoma, but she... So we could probably all in this room go around and have, everybody must have a great Kitty story. Does anybody?
I have a short one.
Oh, great, okay.
One time Sally and I went in there to visit Kitty, and she started to tell us about another bobble lover who was having problems, who lived in the community. And we were looking at her, and she was like giving us all this gossip, but that was in our minds. And she simply said, oh, I'll remember it in a minute.
It takes a village, you know, as for you.
Oh, I'm not gossiping, I'm reporting.
Was she,
that's
somebody,
great.
also David said back nibbling
Yes.
instead of backbiting. I don't know if that was, I don't know if that was a kitty. Oh, yeah, she was, oh my gosh, she was one of the fight. And Elizabeth, you know, she had a great sense of humor. One day, every afternoon, I would bring her coffee after she got up from her nap, and on her little Chinese tray with those beautiful little tea sets she had. And I think I moved a little too rapidly. I put the tea tray and the coffee down a little precipitously, and she was sitting there on her bed, and she said, "Oh, I don't think I want cafe au lit. I want cafe au lait." So those of you who know French, cafe au lit would mean coffee on the bed. And lait is milk. I don't want cafe au lit. I want cafe au lait. And I said, "Elizabeth, I didn't know you could pun in French too." And she says, "Yes, there are many things about me you don't know." Oh, poise, oh my God. One day the phone was ringing off the hook. I had to make lunch. I was told to make beds in the guest bedroom, which is now Buzz's office. And I short sheeted the bed, and I put, you know, the bottom sheet and then the cover, and I forgot to put the top sheet. And I think I was swearing under my breath, or maybe full force, I don't know. And Elizabeth came in and sat down on the other bed as I was trying to suppress my upset at so much to do and the mistake I had made. And I said, "Oh, Elizabeth, I'm so upset. I forgot to put on the top sheet, and now I'm going to make the bed over again." And she said, "Yes, that is what the spiritual life is all about. Finding poise in the midst of intense activity." And you might have read in the book that in the early days, I mean, back early 70s, that we used to call the nearby community, we used to call it the off-center community. And Elizabeth went into a long discussion with me and Lois about, you know, the off-center community, it doesn't really sound very good. And she was the one who made up the nearby community so that we wouldn't appear as screwy as we were. Oh, and another funny, okay, so I come into, I better stop after this, but anyway, I was in Kitty's office looking for something, and so Kitty wasn't there, and I just sat down at her desk to look quickly for some papers or something. I was maybe an envelope or something for Kitty, and Elizabeth walked in, and she sat in the seat that was where the visitors would come and sit opposite her. And all at once it sort of tickled me that I was sitting in Kitty's seat, and she was sitting in the, you know, the newcomer's seat. And knowing that she liked me, and had been there a while, and I, you know, just decided I could be bold and joke with her. So I pretended she was a newcomer, and I said, "Yes, so I see you've come to visit the Mayor's Spiritual Center. Do you have any questions?" And without a beat, Elizabeth Patterson says, "No, dear, I don't have any questions. I only have answers."
Kathy, did you want to sing one song or no? We have a guitar. They may loan it to you, may not.
Okay, let's see. I was thinking maybe we could sing together. How about that? The Song of the Soul was a song that you know. Okay, thanks. The Song of the Soul is one we could sing together. That would be great. Ah. So when Elizabeth wasn't driving anymore, she asked a number of us if anybody wanted to drive her to church, so I would drive her to so are you okay? Okay, thank you. Thanks. So a few of us took turns taking Elizabeth to the Methodist church downtown. One day the minister introduced a new assistant woman minister, a young woman, and she gave a beautiful sermon, then whipped out a guitar and sang the Song of the Soul. And, you know, the chorus says, why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? But of course, nobody knew the song but me because we sang it at the center. And so I was kind of humming quietly because nobody else in the church knew it and I didn't want to make a to-do. But on the way home, Elizabeth said, do you know that song, dear? And I said, yes, and she had me sing it to her. And then after that, if I'd be working around the house and newcomers, somebody would come, she'd ask me sometimes to sing the song. So it reminds me of Elizabeth. And please sing with me. What? Let's see. Open mine eyes that I might see visions of truth thou hast for me. Open mine eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Love of my life, I am sighing, I am not crying, I am dancing along in the madness. There is no sadness, only the song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for a living? Are you forgiving? Giving shelter? Follow your heart, love will find you, the truth will unbind you. Sing out the song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Come to your life like a warrior, nothing will bore you. You can be happy. Let in the light, it will heal you, and you can feel you. Sing out the song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. And we can sing for a long, long time.
Thank you.
I'd like to impose one thing. One more song.
So I somehow wasn't able to get to India. Oh, thank you. Mara had passed and I hadn't been able to get to India. And I was so upset when I got there. And I mentioned this to Eric Nadell, and he brought me a group of poems that were dedicated to Mara that he had just written after her passing. And this one, it's called Don't Cry. Mara had been weeping on the porch one day, and Monty had been playing the sitar for me and Janet Luck, and word came from the porch that Mara had been weeping. Monty said, please go cheer her up. And we went to the porch, and Janet did a broom trick successfully and then handed me the broom, and I got sort of tangled up in the broom and had a rough time, and finally triumphed and brought the broom around and hooping and hollering and acting loony. And Mara was by this time laughing, so we were all relieved she had come out of her sadness. And then she got very serious and she said, that was very good, you persevered and you didn't give up until you reached your goal. Always persevere in your love for Baba and never give up. Perseverance is one of the greatest attributes, spiritual attributes. Don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. That the nourisher of love is gone. She lives, so don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Just look within each heart to see the bounty that she gives. She gives, yes, she gives. So don't cry, no, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. At last, the age of love has begun at last. So don't cry, no, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Mara, beloved of God, lives eternally with the one. She lives and he lives, and she gives and he gives. So don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, no, don't cry.
you, Cathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
The Chiro Cats will end the program.
In a few minutes.
And while they're setting up the next meeting, hopefully Preeti, Ben's wife, Vinod came into town from India Friday. And he might be the guest speaker at the next meeting. And he met Baba as a child.
What was the second part?
Whew. So this is a song about how great it is to come to the center and how Baba takes us through all our trials and tribulations and helps us. And then we ask for more, right? To Myrtle Beach, my soul to cleanse, my mind to teach, hoping that I'm not too far gone. I'm hanging on, I'm limping in. It's sad to see the shape I'm in, but I'm gonna make my Lord's home tonight. Sing along. So rock me, Baba, on your Dharma wheel. Rock me, Baba, till I can feel. Oh, Baba, rock me. And rock me, Baba, in the wind and the rain. Rock me, Baba, like a southbound train. Whoa, Baba, rock me. I'm fighting a good fight, I'm living the life. I'm trying to rise above the strife. I'm feeling my hand slip from his Dhamma. It's gonna be alright, I've been here before. I had my soul lifted at God's door. I'm sliding on into Mayfair Center. So rock me, Baba, on your Dharma wheel. Rock me, Baba, till I can feel. Ooh, Baba, rock me. And rock me, Baba, in the wind and the rain. Rock me, Baba, like a southbound train. Ooh, Baba, rock me. Take it away, Lefty. Into a cabin over my heart. Now the healing's gonna start. We're sliding on into Mayfair Center. Well, we don't know what I'd do if I could never come home to you. You're my soul salvation. Rock me, Baba, on your Dharma wheel. Rock me, Baba, till I can feel. Oh, Baba, rock me. And rock me, Baba, in the wind and the rain. Rock me, Baba, like a southbound train. Oh, Baba, rock me. So rock me, 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 rock me. Baba, rock me. Thank you very much.
Okay, this next song I wrote, and I was driving down the road one day, and the song came to me.
Was it the month of May?
It was the month of May, too. And it's called Take Me Back. Here it goes. I was riding down the road one day, must have been the month of May. Had a funny feeling way down deep inside.
Deep inside.
So I turned on the radio. A voice said I was soon to go to a place that I once left way behind. So I turned up the sound to hear it clear.
Hear it clear.
A voice said we were so very near.
So very near.
To a time that we will find the one who never died, the one who's come for everybody here.
I'm gonna fill up my cup with his red wine. Gonna fill up my cup, it's so sublime. Take me back to the way it was and a feeling of more brotherly love. Take me back to a more loving time.
Gonna
Fill up my cup with his red wine. Gonna fill up my cup, it's so sublime. Take me back to the way it was and a feeling of more brotherly love. Take me back to a more loving time.
So I drove on down the road, I was going home.
Going home
Then I called my best friend on the telephone.
on the telephone.
I said, have you heard the news? It'll shake away your blues and keep you all from feeling so alone. Gonna
Fill up my cup with his red wine. Gonna fill up my cup, it's so sublime. Take me back to the way it was and a feeling of more brotherly love. Take me back to a more loving time. Take me back to the way it was and a feeling of more brotherly love. Take me back to a more loving time.
Now you gotta make an appearance on the grandstand.
Oh, yeah. You want to do one more?
Is there a lot of Bible lovers on the grandstand? We only played a Bible
It's a
song.
love song. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
hoping they would do another song.
Yeah, we can.
Marlene, would you like to stay for one more song? Where are we going?
Sure, yes, just one more, yes.
One more. Marlene said one more.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right here.
This song is originally done by Elvis, but I changed the words a little bit.
Thank God.
There you go. Well, that's alright, Bob. That's alright for you. That's alright, Bob. Any way that you do, well, that's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright now, Baba.
Any way you do.
Well, Monty, she done told me. Eric's told me too. Son, that man you fool, it's so good for you. Well, that's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright now, Baba.
Any way you do.
Bob, any way that you do, well, that's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright now, Baba.
Any way you do.
I'm leaving town, Baba. Leaving town for sure. Yeah, I'm going down to India. Gonna knock on God's door. Well, that's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright.
That's alright now, Baba.
Any way you do.
Well, that's alright now, Baba.
Any way you do.
Thank you very much.
And just to end the meeting, as always, 2 words. Neer Bob. Neer Bob.